Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Questions with Matt and Mark. This week I'll start. So Matt, big thing is, the Fed is printing so much money. Number one, can the Fed run out of money, and what happens if the Fed runs out of money?
Yeah, so the Fed can digitally print money, and they have done that, and they're continuing to do that. And I think that is getting so much, let's just say, publicity, because there's a threat of a government shutdown.
Right.
And I think the biggest issue, viewers, is the fact that the debt ceiling has to be authorized by Congress. And obviously, there's a lot of partisan fighting over the budget bill. And I think what's going to end up happening is there's a possibility we see either a partial government shutdown in either late October, upwards of mid-November. Mm-hmm. So the Fed can print money, but it's ultimately Congress has to authorize the debt ceiling to get raised, which could cause a shutdown.
Right, which we've seen in the past.
Yeah. And we talked about that today on the podcast.
We did.
All right, my question for you, you always see these big headlines, okay? So the latest big headline has to do with Goldman Sachs. And they came out and said, Mark, one of the biggest threat to stocks right now is higher taxes. So, truth, noise, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there might be some truth to that, in the short term, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's just noise, because we've done the analysis on market returns after tax hikes and after tax cuts, and there's not a huge difference in market returns based on what the government does with raising or lowering taxes. So yeah, theoretically, if people are paying higher taxes, that could mean that they don't have as much money to invest into the market. But again, just looking back at history, doesn't really matter if taxes rise or taxes fall based on market returns. And then again, if you're in it for the long term, it's just a clickbait thing, headline that I think people shouldn't really give that much weight to.
The thing I'll add is ultimately, I think a lot of this news is baked in to a certain extent, right, because it's been talked about for months and months. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. We'll be back next week with another episode of Questions with Matt and Mark, and we will see you then.